Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joan.
Hey, Joan.
Betsy, I just did answer your test.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Did it just ping?
I was just throwing on some lipstick.
Yeah, so I did not.
Yeah.
I did not hear back. And
Yeah.
Bob was going to mention something about that in the meeting tonight, too.
All right. Okay.
Let's see here. We got one more minute. Are we going to have a quorum? Brent's here, it looks like. Okay.
Yeah, you have 4 of 7. You're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, I got 5:59. Shall we give it 1 minute? I know Cindy won't be here. I kind of assumed that Mark won't, but I didn't hear from him today. Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. There's Brent. Hey. Would you take the roll, please?
Sure. Joan Heaton.
Here.
Sean Platt. Cindy Neely. Betsy Blexley.
Here.
Mark Reynolds. Bob Hamilton.
Here.
Ganser.
Here.
Okay, and could we get approval of the agenda? Anybody have any changes?
Kent.
Hey, Joan.
Yes, Ken.
I mean, the finalization of the DRC comments to Strauss Park, I didn't get any additional information from Kyle, from
Okay.
DHM, who presented to you. So there's no additional information
Okay.
for you all. So, and it was kind of up in the air at last meeting. I think we just kind of left it on there just in case he would get information back or not. But he's
Yeah.
gone.
Actually, Kent,
Yes, sir.
I asked that to be added and I went through the entire drawing package
Right.
and put 6 pages together of comments, some of
Okay.
which we probably should discuss. And
Those
then
comments,
with
but
the intent that we could finalize that from a DRC perspective and then pass it on to the contractor.
okay. Oh, okay. As far as your comments, okay. I was a little confused on that. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I did see those.
Okay. So did I hear first? A motion?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? All right. Audience business? Kent, is anybody audience? Okay. So Steve Skalski, Guanella Pass Brewery would be the first one up. And just please state your name and the address of the project we're doing and explain a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's ready for hopefully a great Memorial weekend. We sure are trying. So Steve Skalski, I'm the owner of Guanella Pass Brewery. We're talking about the building that the original brewery is in at 501 Rose Street. And we are looking to install 2 outdoor what we call unit tanks. The tanks are used for in the beer production process. We have very limited space inside the brewery. We knew we would be, if we were successful, we'd be outgrowing the space a little bit. One of the things that many people are able to do is to install outdoor tanks. So these tanks are no different than the ones we have inside the brewery. They are stainless steel tanks. They're actually, they look like pieces of artwork. They're beautiful. They'll never rust. They have a double wall, so we are able to use a glycol chiller that we already have for the other tanks to cool the liquid inside as we need to. And then during the winter months, we also have a heating unit that works in conjunction with that, and it keeps the liquid at the temperature we need it to. There will be 2 tanks. The tanks will be located right behind the existing brewery. They will not be visible from Rose Street. Excuse me. There is a drive that exists right behind our brewery. It's on our property, and the 2 tanks will be right on that drive, right on the side of the brewery. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have, but it's good news that we're able to get a little expansion going and keep our business vibrant.
Yeah. So you're planning to put a fence around these two tanks as well?
Yeah, we'll put a small fence around it, just because we don't want anybody really going in and touching things. The locations of the tank are well within the property. So what I mean by that is they're behind the brewery, so you don't see it from Rose Street. And then they're kind of far down the way of the driveway from Fifth Street. So they'll be visible from Fifth Street, but not right near the street. So yeah, we'll put a small fence around it just to keep. It's part of our back patio area that we have and we'll be using. So we don't want even customers, really going up and getting too close to the tanks.
Right. Okay. And it's a security fence, or is it a wood fence?
It'll probably, I would envision it to be just a plain wood fence. And it's not going, when we fence off that whole back patio, it'll be fenced off and gated off on Fifth Street. So if you look at the property, and that gate, I'm sure we'll be visiting with you to make sure that fence and gate meets the standards, because that'll run right along Fifth Street. This is just an internal fence that we'll use inside the property.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I guess just more on the fence. Do you expect it to be like 4 feet high or 6 feet or?
I would say 6 feet is probably overkill. I would just want it high enough so that probably a 4-foot fence in my mind would be okay. Again, we've been operating there for over 4 years. We have security cameras. We've never had any problem whatsoever on our property, and even with the property not being fenced off. So I'm not overly concerned about it. And even if someone accessed it, there's very little damage they could do because it's just a tank. So
is there a gate, Steve? Let's see.
Well, yeah, if it's fenced off, part of the fencing would be a gate to access the 2 tanks.
And then is that gate locked?
I would probably have a lock on it so that the purpose of it isn't defeated. So there'd just be probably a padlock or something closing it.
Okay. And this is this drawing here. You are going into 505 Rose Street. That's going to be a restaurant. Is that right?
Yeah, that's our second project. That's not really part of installing these tanks. The tanks are really for the purpose of the brewery and it's part of our manufacturing process. But yes, when the entire property is completely done, we basically have a campus, and the campus has the 2 buildings on it: 501 Rose Street, the original brewery, and 505 Rose Street, which we have nicknamed Silver Brick. And what'll happen is the property that connects the 2 buildings is all owned by me, and people will be able to walk freely between the buildings and get their food and drink and use the outdoor patio seating and take their seats. So it'll be a completely contained area. And the only thing that lacks to make it a completely contained is to replace a very temporary fence we've been using with a permanent fence that'll run along Fifth Street. So from Fifth Street, from the property behind us, which is a red Airbnb housing unit, or I don't think it's an Airbnb. I think they lease it out by the month. And then that fence will go from that property all the way to the end of what the existing brewery. So it'll all be self-contained. There will be a gate because we'll still need to access the alleyway that's right behind the brewery.
Right, thanks.
So you're saying these won't be visible from the road except Fifth Street, because what's called out on here is 304 stainless steel, and that's the same stuff that's used on kitchen equipment. That's pretty reflective when the sun hits it, right?
It has a brushed finish, so
Right, but 304 is still pretty reflective in the sun.
yeah, I'm not concerned about it. I'm not sure what the concern would be.
Because we say non-reflective metals in our guidelines. And also with the pipes too, because it says the pipes are also stainless that connect to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
I don't know
this-
what the standard is, but I don't consider it to be reflective. It's brushed aluminum,
Oh, it's aluminum?
brushed steel.
Okay. Because it says it's a 304 stainless in the sheet we got.
Yeah, and it's not it's not a chrome finish. It's a very much a brushed finish.
Right.
What is the total height of the tank?
The height is approximately, again, the schematic, I got it in an email that I sent Jen. It's approximately 10 feet tall,
Okay.
which means it's still not, still does not go above the brewery. So the height of the brewery is still is still taller than the actual tanks.
Okay. So if indeed it is a brushed finish, it will not be reflecting bright sunlight on people, correct?
Well, you'll see it, from above town, coming down the Gunella Pass Road, possibly.
I don't think you'll see it from there. I think the only place you'll see the tanks is when you're driving down Fifth Street and looking well inside the property.
Know how tall your building is?
It has 10-foot ceilings inside, so probably maybe a foot or two above that on the exterior.
Okay.
If the tanks are 10 feet tall, you'll also see that from Argentine Street too.
I don't think you'll see it from Argentine Street because of the buildings that exist between that back patio and Argentine. You have a law office on the corner. You then have the red residential rental building behind that. Across Fifth Street, you have the XL utility building that is built right there. And that one's right on the corner. And these tanks are, once again, very much into the property. So if you did drive down Argentine, I don't think you'll see it at all, but you may see it for a fraction of a second as you're driving, if the angle's right, but I don't think you would.
And this is to hold additional beer, Steve?
Yeah, it's going to be used in the fermentation process. So it'll ferment beer and hold it until we keg it off into kegs. It's a very common thing you'll see in a lot of breweries. A lot of breweries, because of limited indoor space, they do have outdoor tanks, and yeah.
If the tanks, if the reflectiveness of the tanks were to become an issue, would it be feasible to put a taller with the short section of fences that runs parallel to Fifth Street? Would it be feasible to put a wall there?
I could put a taller fence. Yeah, I mean, it's feasible to put as tall of a fence around it or something blocking it as we need to. That if it's deemed necessary, I personally think it adds to the whole nice look and feel of the town. Right now, you've got a basic cinder block building that's not historical, that was built in 1943 as originally a gas station. And then our tank cellar and our tap room is 2 additional cinder block buildings that were probably built in the late 60s, early 70s. So the only thing that the tanks might do is it might have people look and say, okay, that's, looks like it's a brewery there. And the tanks are nice, but if the reflection, it's easy enough to build a taller wood fence, wood wall, whatever you want to call it. I just think it wouldn't look great, but that could be done.
Oh, well, so if you're agreeable to that, if the situation becomes that it does seem more reflective than anticipated, you're agreeable to that?
Yeah, absolutely. If the issue becomes, if someone says the reflectiveness is causing a problem, then yes, we will do what we need to correct the situation with a covering or whatever we need to do.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that would be a reasonable approach.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, because the concern is you don't want to see a bright, shiny object when you're looking across the town. And you can't see the back of that building when you're looking from the hill by the railroad bridge, because I'm just looking through my photos. And so, yeah, the building is visible from that area. So they will be visible from that part.
That's the high bridge behind the Hamel House?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, further
Oh,
back than
railroad
that. It's more like by the old
Right.
toll house.
right in front of Cora Lou's house, right? Is that the bridge?
No, the railroad bridge. So on up the hill where the train
Yeah.
actually goes over, it's way up high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think we'd be able to see it from Gwinnett Pass also.
I've driven
Looks
Gwinnett
like it.
Pass. I've driven that road, and I'm not debating or arguing with it. If you see it, you have to really be looking for it, and it's only for a moment. When you're coming down Gwinnett Pass, there's probably 1 or 2 stretches of the pass where you're looking down on Georgetown, and then you can see that section where my buildings are. I've never actually looked for it coming down from the train, though. I guess that's possible too. But
Well,
I've never,
it's not off the road. You kind of got to walk up a little bit to see it.
yeah, trust me, I'm always rubbernecking off I-70 to say, can I see my buildings? Can I see my buildings?
I don't think you can if you're driving.
No.
I have, but was always at the risk of hitting the semi truck in front of me, so I stopped
Yep.
looking.
Or if you're in the passenger seat.
Right.
Okay, so I will put as a stipulation, if everybody's agreeable to that in the event we have some visual problems with the reflection on this, he will mediate with a taller fence. I appreciate you doing that. Does anybody have any other questions or anything? Okay, I am like literally finding one sighting that isn't really very specific about it. On page 57, book 2 in service areas, which technically this isn't, but it's the closest thing I could find. And I don't even know what specific location of service areas should be coordinated with adjacent properties. So the size and number of driveways, there's not anything real specific about this type of thing, but minimizing the appearance of it. And
What page is that now?
I'm in book 2, page 57. And if somebody can find something on there, the only other thing I saw was on page 16 in book 2, and it's along rear facades, a building form should step down, and then it goes on to say that use projecting roofs at the ground level over entrances, decks, and separate utility structures, but this isn't actually a utility structure, so I don't think that applies. And I agree. I think that enhances the look. It is a brewery, and you expect to see that sort of thing, there. So it's not something hideous that's being stuck up. But
Yeah, and it's not prominent. I mean, it's not near the
Right.
sidewalk or anything, so it's set way back deep in the property. Plus you'll have the patio area that will, kind of take away from that anyway, because you'll have tables and chairs and stuff in there. So I think that the location's good. The only concern would be the, potential for it being too shiny. We've got a solution for that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may just make one more comment. I love the fact that I love the fact that downtown Georgetown, to the degree we have them there, we have craftsmen down there. We're not a bar. We don't consider ourselves a bar. We make our own beer and we brew it. When we open up next door, one of the things you'll see is we'll have a coffee program early in the morning, and we're not just going to serve coffee. We'll have a coffee roaster in there for people to see. So we're really trying to make that whole campus a place where people come in, and including the locals, and they're able to see actual, work getting done and not in a way that affects the residential areas or anything else. So.
Okay, so on page 58, excuse me, in section 7(9) utilities, A2, locate utilities at the rear of a property and screen them, which we'll kind of have to go with that because that's as close as we've got. And then minimize the visual impacts of vents, exhaust hoods by integrating them. Well, that's not exactly it. And 6, any utility device or piece of service equipment should have a matte or non-reflective finish and be integrated with the building colors. So I think that would do it. And then I'll just stipulate. the
Sorry,
fifth.
you have, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
page 57.
Page
Have a
58.
stipulation on that?
No, I was
Okay.
looking through there, but I think page 58.
Okay, and what about page 16? We go say nothing there either?
No, it's more about roof lines on
So
that.
58, section 7, A2?
Yeah, under 9 utilities, A2 and A6.
Okay,
Yeah, it's section 9.
okay, thanks.
Oh, sorry, 9, yeah. Okay, and I don't really see anything else. So if anybody else wants to add something,
No, I think that should do it.
okay. Do I hear a motion?
I would move that we approve the application to add the 2 stainless steel tanks on the back of the brewery property, with the sightings noted and with the stipulation that if reflection from the stainless becomes an issue, that it could be mitigated by making the fence or wall higher.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you guys very much, and I appreciate all the hard volunteer work you guys are doing. I'm on the promotions commission, and it goes without saying, town's great because it's got everybody working hard for very little pay these days. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm writing. Does somebody, Bob, would you just start us on the next one there, please?
What did you want me for?
Would you just start the next item while I finish up my writing here, and then you'll have to.
Okay,
wait
sure.
while
Marjorie Aker. Is anybody online or waiting to be online?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and did other people get pictures that are noted here? Because I don't have any pictures.
Yeah,
I
I didn't,
have no photos of anything, just a sketch.
Just a sketch.
but it's right. It's almost, it's like just down the street from me. I'm familiar with what they're talking about. they want to go ahead and add a white picket fence in the front of the property to match up with their neighbor's fence.
Oh, okay. And 34 high, right?
Yep.
A little shy of 3 feet. Okay.
You guys, excuse me,
Which
this is
about
Jen.
Their neighbor's
Yeah.
fence.
Hi, Jen.
I think the main thing with that one was the iron posts that he wanted to add, because otherwise he's just kind of repairing it. So that's why we thought we should bring this one before you guys.
Yeah, and I would say the iron, the fence is on top of a wall that's, I don't know, better part of 8 feet high, maybe. So I think iron posts are smart to give it, they're gonna be set in concrete, I assume.
Yeah, they keep noting, and especially on the second page, all these photographs, but we don't have any photographs, right?
No, I
No.
don't get any.
No, they didn't
I
give us
do
any
not have
photos.
any.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you wouldn't, I don't think you'd even see the wooden, the iron posts, they'd be in the backside, the house side. And the fence would just extend across the front.
So there's no iron post in the front?
Well, they're holding the fence up, but I mean, it's a picket fence, so the pickets
right.
go continuous across the front.
And they're trying to stay in keeping with the house next door? Is that what I understand here?
Yeah, and I would say it's a safety issue more than anything.
Yeah,
I mean, you would walk right out and it's like a 6 to 8 foot drop,
Uh-huh.
down to the street level.
okay. Okay,
So from this, can you tell if the wood fence is remaining? It's
Yeah,
just being
that's a good
reinforced?
picture.
Okay, go ahead, Brent.
Yeah. Oh, in that photo, it's gone or it's down low, but because I just Googled it and it's still up high, but
Yeah, I
is
think
it
that's
being
removed.
reinforced or replaced? Yeah, because on Google, it was up high still. So
Yeah.
that's what I just was
Yeah,
looking at.
that's where they're talking about putting it, is at on top of the wall.
Yeah, the fence had fell, so
Okay.
that's why it's down low.
So they want to
Okay.
match up to the left-hand fence on the neighbor's property and have a continuous fence there
Right.
Right.
all the way across. Okay, that makes sense.
okay. Thanks.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that fence is not, the bottom fence is not there anymore. It's gone. I think it is probably seen a better day.
It gave it its best.
That'd be in book 3.
Okay. I did actually have one, it's a sketch. Did you guys get something like this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a picture, but I thought maybe that's what everybody was missing. Okay, book 3.
So I just, because I'm new, I have a procedural issue. So if a person is not here to represent their application, we just proceed without them? You can actually approve it without them?
Yeah, we do. And usually it's because it's something pretty straightforward and simple, or they can't be here for whatever reason. And sometimes this happens and we'll have an application and we have more questions or we don't have enough information to really make a decision. So we'll send that back, table it, send that back to them and ask them for whatever else we need or some clarification on it. So we don't always approve something if they're not here, but a lot of times it's simple enough to do. They don't have to be here.
All right, thank you.
The sightings, it looks like we're in book 3, page 81. Section 2 on fences, walls, and gates. A1, should be simple in character and transparent. A2 should not exceed 4 feet in the front, which it meets that. I don't know if there's a gate. I doubt it. It didn't feel that there would be a gate there.
I don't see one on the drawing.
No. I
Looks
don't
like
know.
it just encloses the yard part up there on top.
And then B, appropriate materials of wood. This is, she says it's going to be cedar picket. I think that's pretty much all we need.
Yeah, being up high like that, it makes sense that they're iron posts, so somebody doesn't fall into it. Okay, I don't see a
Yep.
fence listed on any of the materials.
And the fence predominantly would be the cedar for the pickets, and then I would assume cedar or some kind of wood for the rails that the pickets attached to.
Do we ever allow fences that are, I don't know what you call it, like PVC, or it's not wood, but it looks like wood?
On a case by case thing, never in the front of a yard. Or
Backyards.
if you're on a corner and it's the side, which is still on the street, not there. But we have done it in cases where it's really not visible from the street or accessible to any of the public.
Okay.
Not PVC though, they're vinyl. There's
What the term is?
Yeah.
You guys
oh
have,
yeah, well there's way better fences now. Even though
whatever.
it sounds horrible, but there's some pretty good ones now. So we have done a few.
all right, thanks for that.
And it helps because painting fences and keeping up a wooden fence that's painted is a lot of work. So it's understandable. All right, Bob, did you have anything besides B there? I got the A's, but did you have B, anything else?
Just A1,
A1, A2, and B.
A2,
E.
and then B.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Hey, I'm going to check. It says, is the condition of existing improvements a hazard to public health or safety? And I am going to check yes on that for existing.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
no fence at the top of the wall there.
Yeah, it's quite a drop.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So do I hear a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve with the sightings
I'll
listed.
second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Okay, great. Easy one. Next, we have Don Buckley. And almost there. Okay. And we have nobody for this one either. So Don Buckley. This is 510 6th Street.
It looks like all he wanted to do was complete a project that had been approved.
Previously.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
So he
Uh,
must have run out of time, or, because there's a
Um,
time element associated with these, isn't there?
Well, that's why he's back. So if we approve something, you have 120 days to get started on that project. And if that expires, then you do have to come back just officially to get your COA reissued. But if it's exactly the same as the one we already approved, then we shouldn't have any problem with it.
So is it exactly, I was reading this, trying to see if there was anything.
So I actually do have the original certificate that we did. I have my sightings listed
Okay.
for, well, let's see if I've got the actual thing here. Metal siding between the buildings for a fire safety issue and a skylight is what, and board and batten siding as well on, was on the original application.
Yeah, the notes from the meeting basically contain the same statement that you're putting on here, that the siding will be, presumably he's talking about the siding between the buildings, will be galvanized metal with a color and non-reflective that meets the fire code.
Mhm.
So the committee has already previously approved the skylight, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. And that would be on the back of the, I'm looking to see if I have the actual particulars. It would be on the back of the building, I believe. Not visible, flat, non-reflective. And I do have a lot of sightings on that, but I just don't know. So he's reapplying for the one that was issued on 8/11/14, and that was approved, so. I've got 3 here on this.
Yeah, it looked like it originated on the 8/11/14 date, and then was renewed.
In
in
this is the
16,
original one.
and will get renewed again in 2021.
Yeah, so 6/16 was the second one, and apparently that was still the same then. I'm seeing no changes. So this is just the same one again. Okay, so anybody want to take a stab at it?
I move that we reapprove the installation of galvanized metal siding between the main building and the shed, as requested, as previously approved in 2014 and 2016.
Okay. So strange, I don't have a back on the sheet, but do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? Okay, thanks, everybody. So I'll have to dig through all this a little bit. It's all confused. Okay, so now we have the Strauss Park, and Bob did some excellent work for us on going through the, yeah.
Yes, thanks, Bob.
Yes, thank you so much.
Now, the red lettering,
That,
is that you, Bob?
well, it's all me, but the red lettering was intended to be things we probably needed to talk about and make a decision on.
Okay, yeah.
And I know the first one, I recall at one point Cindy mentioning that there were 2 different shades of Davis sandstone. Am I correct in that? Does anybody else recall that?
There
I
are
recall
two.
seeing that.
Depending on what they're used for. And
The
apparently
curb is
the darker
different
color
than
with
the
the bag,
sidewalk.
the 2 pounds of stuff, looks like that's for pavement.
sidewalks,
Yeah,
and the lighter is for curbs. So
okay,
I think it's the same color. It's just double the intensity, it's
yeah.
double saturation. Yeah, so that's what Kent says.
And Cindy is very concerned about that.
Yes, well, and I would agree on the exposed aggregate in this application, not inside the stalls, but in the sidewalk areas and stuff. If you walk by the Presbyterian church, out in front of their church, and there's quite a few places in the downtown area for walking areas where it's pedestrian travel and not being driven on and stuff. I think that's definitely what we would expect.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay.
So then
So,
anything that you walk on would be the 2-pound mix, and then just the concrete curbing,
mhm,
gutters, drainage pans, stuff like that would be the 1 pound.
right, so it's tinted to not just be white up against the other, but it doesn't have to be the same dark.
So I can go ahead and clarify that in the final.
Okay,
So we could be specific about what elements we would expect to have the 2-pound mix versus the 1 pound.
right, and I think he's probably had some instruction on that before and is all in on,
Yeah, I kind of
Right, that-
copied this from,
Yeah.
from what she sent before, and then she sent an email out today, basically addressing, saying the same thing, and then also bringing up some issues about the back of the hardware store, which we'll get to that.
yeah. Okay,
Well, that's
Oh.
next.
okay, why don't you just walk us through it, Bob? It's your,
Okay, I'm going to mainly just hit the red stuff. On the grading plan, the city had a concern, actually she had another concern too, but I'll get that in a minute. She's concerned about the drainage coming off the Nielsen Anderson building, and where does it go? I don't know if Sean or anybody else is taking a look, but it looks like it goes to a drainage pan that is sitting out in front of the restrooms, and then it gets directed over to Rose Street.
I think that's the way he explained it when we discussed it a few
I mean,
times
it
today.
looked okay to me. I don't know that I checked, there's no gutter back there or anything like that. So it's whatever comes off the roof hits the ground and then, finds its way into the drainage pan.
And the shelters are actually tipped forward towards the park, the lower edges.
Yeah, the shelters are freestanding and they'll drain into the park.
Yeah. So
But
this
they've
would be
got gutters
more
on. So there's a gutter on the shutter, and
yeah.
and that was another question I had. There's the gutter on the main shelter, the big one, slopes towards 6th Street. So you get the entire roof goes in that direction. Would we want to go ahead and have them slope some of it to the parking lot in the back to break up the flow? I don't know how much is going to come off of that shed roof.
So is it all one long continuous gutter until the end?
Yeah, I mean, it may
No
be, in
downspout?
pieces, but it's probably going to be, depending what we put in. It'll probably could be it's a K style, so it could be a rolled.
Yeah. So do you think two downspouts, one on either end, is adequate for that length?
I think that'd be adequate.
Okay,
We
well,
could do it all with one.
I think it makes sense to go both directions, just to not
I
have
would. I
such a
think-
gully wash.
For that length, I would, just because it's going to be
It's
what,
like,
a quarter inch per foot. That's going to drop a lot to one end.
Yeah,
'cause you're over 100 feet long.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
that's
could
5
add
inches.
that comment to pitch it both ways. It just occurred, do we want to specify a half round gutter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because on that building, it's going to be very visible.
And as Cindy mentioned to me, she was worried about the water from the park area running across the sidewalks too.
It
In the
doesn't.
winter,
It
turn
goes-
into a sheet of ice.
They've got a chase that goes from, it pitches, I mean, where the downspout is,
Okay.
the gutter feeds a drain pipe on the 6th Street end that goes in a chase underneath the sidewalk. I don't know if there's I think there's maybe a metal plate over the top of it, but
Okay.
it goes under the sidewalk and it's heat.
Not across the sidewalk.
So there,
But that's if you just have one downspout.
But there is a drainage back by the restrooms, right? So there's a drainage thing there
it
too.
looks like everything slopes out to either 6th Street or Rose Street.
Yeah.
If you look at the grading, that's where everything goes, and it sort of eventually winds up in the the drainage pans on those streets.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure maybe it drains under the sidewalk or something.
Well, there's,
Or there's a trough drain to catch it before it crosses the sidewalk.
in the parking lot, there's a curb.
Yeah, I think it's more Rose Street.
Yeah, the parking lot, it flows
Street
along
that
the
I would worry
curb, but
about.
yeah.
I have it.
All the rest of the drainage does drain towards the 6th and Rose corner. All the sheet drainage.
Yeah,
The downspout has that one trough that it goes underneath the sidewalk. But that's just if it goes off the north end. If there's more than one downspout, then it would be surface.
well, they need to do probably something similar to that. I'm looking at on the drainage plan, which was an attachment drawing. It shows a drainage pan that runs to the south side of the parking lot. It picks up all the drainage from the restroom area and then directs it towards Rose Street. And then where the sidewalk goes through there, there's a cut through the sidewalk with a plate over it.
Yeah.
So it would bring it.
But the
everything
rest
from
of it, because if you
parking lot
look up
would
at the
drain
top,
to
you've got the
pan,
elevator.
everything off the roof and stuff would drain, but everything else would drain.
Yep.
The park itself would drain out to Rose and 6th.
Yep. In the other building, I don't see any indication of a drainage pan or anything for it. So if it has a gutter across the front, it's just going to surface, discharge on the surface then.
Well, it would drain, I know the Niesel and Anders, oh, you're talking
Yeah,
about
the little 2-stall building that's in the middle.
small shade structure.
Yeah.
It has a gutter, but it looks like it just drains to the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a question we could pass on to the contractor. The second one, where does the drain pipe, where do they drain?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Okay,
Okay, the planting plan, we talked about removing the large boulders from the grass area. We talking 2 or 3? There were 3, I think, that we talked about. The one next to the trash receptacle. I don't know if we want to leave that to stay, or I don't know that it really makes a lot of difference. We just say remove the boulders from the grass area.
I think the point was if they're not close enough to another obstacle, we don't want people to inadvertently trip, in snow and that type of thing. So if they're next to that seating wall or a trash can or something that you're not going to stomp over anyway, I think
Right.
maybe just rearrange them, so that they're a little less random out in the middle of nowhere, because that is, and people get to goofing around, and back it up and trip over them and stuff. So just not in the middle.
Yeah, I think if they were in groups, they would be better than if they're just randomly placed, I think is what we.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the only other thing I saw is it shows between the back of the big shelter and the restrooms, a planting of Oregon grape ivy plants, which if they're going to put that electrical panel back there, you really don't want a planting there. I don't think you'd have room for one thing. The other thing is you'd be trampling over it. So they need to go away.
So if it was kind of meant to shield the electrical, I think just a screen of some sort is better than a plant. Plant's going to get into stuff.
Yeah, except that it really wouldn't shield it because they're ground cover.
Yeah.
And the electrical panels are going to be, 6 feet high at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other comments, that area looks awfully tight. It looks like it's 4 feet between the walls. And if you put a a 1 foot deep electrical panel, you're down to 3 feet. It's barely workable.
That's not gonna meet electric code.
No, that, I told them that was on the electrical section, they need to check clearances, but I don't think they have enough room there.
3 feet won't meet code.
Isn't it 5?
It can be less, but these panels will probably be 5. Smaller panels, it can be a little bit less, but I doubt that's what we'll have here.
3 feet on like a residential panel that size, which these are. They're not terribly huge, but it's still tight.
It's still tight.
Okay, then on asphalt paving, do we want the asphalt surface in the parking lot to be sealed, enrolled?
What page are we on right now?
That's page 2.
The top of page 2.
I know we definitely want it rolled and edged, appropriately so that it doesn't look like somebody just splatted a big blob of stuff there. Kit, what did we finally say on the millings in the rest of the part of town? Did people have to seal it or not?
No, we don't let them seal it.
They don't want it sealed, yeah, or you all didn't want it sealed at
Right.
all.
And so if this is a commercial
This is a
parking lot,
commercial parking lot. I'm thinking it ought to be sealed,
yeah,
or you're gonna have potholes all over the
Right.
place.
right.
You have a thought on that, Kent?
I keep muting myself, sorry, Bob. Either, it would be better to be sealed, I think, as far as the look. As far as maintaining it, it's a little easier to maintain without it sealed because, if it gets scrumped up or whatever, you can
Right.
roll it again, that's just the difference. I mean, but once it's sealed, it should provide a good hard surface, and it's actually for older folks, it's easier to walk on than even if it's a little bit loose material, it gets a little harder for the older folks to walk on. So
I think it'll stay in better shape if it's sealed.
Yeah, that was that's why I asked the question.
And I think along that line, we've always requested in these cases where we permitted this, that they don't paint yellow lines. They just put, those curb stop things in the front where the parking spaces are.
That's my next question, because they have the wheel stops that you just mentioned, and they have a concrete curb behind it, and that seems unnecessary to have both.
Yeah, I think the curb stops are almost to delineate where the parking spaces are, but people park helter
Right,
skelter.
but then they also have the concrete curb around the entire parking lot too.
Yeah, so it's probably not necessary because there's room to walk around, cars if they're pulled up to the curb.
Yeah, and that's just a retaining wall where the curb stops are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an existing wall, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not going to pull over that. All right.
Is that an existing wall that's staying there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or get rebuilt. I mean, it may get disturbed.
It's called out as new.
Hmm. We answered the question about light and dark Davis, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked last time about changing from veneer brick to veneer stone on the seats.
Seating wall, yeah. Yeah, okay.
The windscreen wall doesn't specify, it just says wood. Should we specify cedar? The cedar is called out on the shelters.
Yeah, I think it should match.
Yeah.
And then the framing, should it be pressure treated or even steel?
For the shelters or the
Well,
windscreen?
no, for the wind wall.
Well,
Of the window wall.
I think pressure treated is adequate, don't you?
I would think so.
It's not really pressure treated anymore, is it? It's like, there's another word for it. Okay, so.
Did they
so
have a
not-
detail? Let's.
What?
Okay, so it doesn't.
I was just
specify, but
looking
it
to
should
see if they
be treated-
had a detail
be a
or
treated
section
material.
through it.
So Bob, what would be your feeling about the difference between the pressure treated or the galvanized steel? Were you indicating that for a particular reason?
Well, for structural longevity. And I
Yeah.
was thinking structural steel, you're sinking 3 wooden posts, 3 or 4 wooden posts into concrete,
Uh-huh.
which they're probably 4x4 posts, so you could get by with galvanized steel posts, which presumably would last. They'd be
lot
stronger and they would last longer.
Yeah.
So the wood screen would actually have to be replaced at some point, but it would still have good posts that wouldn't have to be replaced.
Yeah, it wouldn't blow over or anything.
That's not a bad idea. And can you get that galvanized, like powder coated or painted, tinted to match the cedar? Or
Well, you
just
wouldn't see it, it'd be
dark?
inside, because it's the cedar.
Yeah, I found the section.
wall
It is completely hidden.
outside, it's on both sides.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, then I'd
So
say
you
that.
you'd bolt the framing members to the steel posts and then
Okay.
cover those with the cedar.
Okay,
That should last
Well-
a lifetime anyway.
that makes sense to me that you don't, down the road someday, once the panel needs to be replaced, you don't have to dig up and put new posts and stuff in.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, I'll go with galvanized.
And it's a 9-foot high wall, so it's going to get a lot of wind load on
Yeah,
it.
it's gonna have a long
yes,
hold on it.
it is.
Yeah.
It's situated in such a way that people may grab onto it as they go around the corner or whatever.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Lean on it or, yeah. Safety first.
The storage shed, it's specified as a tough shed, and we probably want to be, we may even want to tell them we want to, it needs to be a custom shed just to set an example for
Yeah.
the town.
Well, the technical tough sheds that we have approved lately in the residential area were actual wood construction. They weren't those plastic ones or anything. They were more.
Right, but they're a pre-manufactured shed.
So we just want them to build a shed, not do the tough shed.
I mean, that's a thought. I mean,
Well, I agree. I don't want it to look cheesy because it's right downtown.
Mhm.
do you want to go with, it's got lap siding or do you want to go with board and bat? You want to make it look like an old timey shed, or
Yeah,
there are things you could do that all it does is add cost.
yeah. Well, and I don't think board and batten would be out of, unreasonable. I don't know if it should be lap. That's pretty substantial.
I noticed it has 3-tab shingles on it too, so that would need to be changed.
Need to be upgraded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it could be metal for,
Yeah,
I mean, if we wanted to make it look older, there are things you could do.
Yeah. Metal shed roof would be good.
That's why I'm saying, if we said that it, custom shed details later,
Right.
and Tough Shed can do a lot of that customization too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some that you wouldn't have known really. They just look like a shed somebody built. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's changed. We don't need to just say tough sheds aren't acceptable, but
yeah. That's like the old vinyl fence thing too, right?
right, exactly.
we could just say customized tough shed.
To be
Yeah.
approved. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we want to get the overhang on the eaves and all that kind of, the gable ends.
Right.
But-
Right.
Yep.
And we don't want the barn door with the cross things on it. Okay. handicapped accessible picnic table we did discuss, and then the bear-proof trash cans need to match the ones that are already in town. I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
And
Can I get the
anybody,
details from you sometime in the, next day or so, and I'll just add that in as to what they are. It looked like they're made by the corrections people.
oh yeah,
I looked on the back of one and looked it up, and that's kind of what it looked like it came from, which I was impressed with. The restroom wall, we changed the wall color to mocha caramel. That people remember?
yeah, I do. And did we change the roof color too?
I thought we did.
I thought we did too. It was like a
Yeah,
deeper.
it's on the minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, so we'll just refer to that.
Yeah, Nuss, or it's, I think the minutes said Nuss or some other color.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No,
Yeah, Java Brown, do we?
Nuss or Java brown.
Nasser Java Brown. There you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you want to go change it to Java Brown?
Yeah. I know when we looked at them. I'm thinking the Nuss was almost had a little green to it or something, and the Java was just a deeper brown.
So we're going with Java.
Yes. Is it, if everybody's okay, I'm not making everybody's decisions, so speak up. If
I'm
you're,
fine with that. I think deeper brown would be, deeper the better.
I can picture that little group of colored things, and that one kind of I do recall.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this whole thing is it's all precast concrete, roof, sides, everything. The whole
Yeah,
thing,
The bathroom, yeah, that's
saw
weird.
that.
the whole thing is a big concrete block that's hollowed out inside.
Wow. No, it's like a ginormous septic tank.
It's plumbed out to the street.
Yeah.
It's a big tough shed.
Yeah.
Concrete
They're
touch.
made out of concrete.
Oh, another tough shed.
So it's a bomb shelter
Oh, we'll keep that in
in two
mind.
ways.
Right.
Let's see. Okay. Are we moving to page 3 here? And
The
let's see.
shelter, the big and the little shelter, they're, it's a freestanding design. It's all wood framing. The posts and the front beams are 8x8 timbers. It doesn't say what kind of wood. I don't know if we need to be specific or not.
Well, I guess whatever they're going to use needs to match the windscreen, right?
I would think those would be
Or
fur.
vice versa.
The timbers wouldn't necessarily. Douglas fir is probably what would be used anyway.
That's what I'm thinking, just
Structural.
structurally,
Huh?
just be for structure.
Yeah, and that's what this is. It's carrying the load.
Okay. But
Cedar is
this-
probably not a good choice. It's too soft.
Okay. And then, so those are not the more highly visible parts of the wood. And then the little dividers and things are wood, the panels,
There are no panels.
the back, there's no back.
The framing, the posts, which you'll see, and the beam, which will be exposed in the front, they're 8x8s. And then the framing for the roof is just standard 2x6, 2x whatever material. I think probably standard 2x6. So it'd be the kind of stuff you get at Home Depot or wherever.
Right.
Then the rear wall it's just a frame, it's a 2x4 framed wall with rough sawn cedar lap siding with
Yeah.
a 5-inch reveal.
Okay. So that's what we want to match the windscreen, and the framing should actually be the best choice. to
Yeah, well, the
use.
windscreen would be cedar.
Yeah.
And it would be vertical. It'd be more like we see in a fence on the windscreen, they'd be vertical.
Yeah.
This is horizontal.
Yeah.
This is lap siding.
Yeah. But the same wood. Same.
The partitions are called out as a thing of the future. They're
Right.
not- They would be added later.
Yeah.
they've called for blocking, which I assume is for the partitions, and we just need to be a little more specific, and I can put something in if that's what it is, that they need blocking up to like 6 feet or something for
Okay.
partitions. And
Back to the timbers.
Yeah,
We call out that they would be rough sawn.
we could,
is that the back?
probably would be more appropriate.
I would think it would be more appropriate, yes.
Yeah.
And are the vendors allowed to hang things on the back? Like nail with demonstrations of stuff?
I don't know if they'd be allowed, I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will, and that's why I'm wondering if we just need to figure out, if we have a requirement for the size of a nail they can use or whatever.
actually, I think when we go to decide about the dividers, there's probably some kind of, in retail stores, a lot of times on a wall where they have all kinds of stuff. I'm thinking socks or jewelry or something. There's kind of like a grid, a metal grid that hangs there, and then you can hooks wherever and kind of move things around. So possibly something.
That's something, yeah, we could add something
Yeah,
like a metal hanging rail or something like that.
Yeah, so that they would have something to hang stuff from, but not put nails. I would not be crazy about that.
Okay, I just, right.
That's a good point, though.
Be sure that that's going to be a big part of what
Yeah.
the vendors are going to want to do.
Yeah, I guess that can be in the contracts, when they want to come and do an event here, that they're not to put nails in our cedar. But we can provide something, I think, that will make it easy. Most of these people are very adept at using those pop-up tents to display their things. So they either have internal racks and things that they display stuff on. Most of them are pretty self-sufficient in that. They don't count on shelving and all kinds of things. So I think we can handle that pretty well once we get to like the divider question.
Okay.
The wood surfaces are specified to be given 2 coats of a weatherproofing wood stain. No color is specified in their sheet where they showed the materials. They indicated that it would be natural cedar, which is very light. I don't know that we want to go with that, or do we want to pick a color?
So the cedar siding on the back wall will not be sealed, or it will?
It will.
And can they match or be close, similar?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could pick a color and then everything would be the same color.
Okay, so whether it's the framing wood or the
I
cedar,
don't know if we wanted the framing to be different.
I wouldn't think so. What do you think, Sean or Brent?
I would kind of think all the same.
Yeah. Betsy, you got a thought on it?
What are the colors of the beams that are in the front?
Natural
That's what
wood.
that's what we're talking about.
I understand. And then, so it's all the same color all the way through is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we could make it, we're starting with natural wood, and we're talking about, do you want to have some kind of a color scheme? Do you want to just have a clear sealer on it so that you have the natural wood color, or come up with something?
So can the cedar, everything is cedar, is that correct? Am I-
No, the structure,
Most likely will be probably Douglas fir or hemlock or something like that.
And it could potentially all be stained, is that correct?
Yes.
yes, it will.
Hmm.
So we could make it all match.
Boy, I would think that would be, and does that have to happen before this is all put together, or can the stain be?
No, I'm sure it could be, we could, go for, the fact that it says it's going to be, the requirement will be 2 coats of a weatherproofing wood stain, period, color to be approved at time of application or
Yeah,
something.
I like that.
Yeah.
Why don't we do-
I think it's hard to envision all of this, and if we could have the
Oh,
color, you know, in a smaller portion, just to make up our minds at that point.
Yeah,
That's a good.
I wouldn't mind that. I kind of just, I feel like by making the structural part different than the walls, the cedar walls in the back, it's sort of like highlighting something that's really not a highlight. But I also don't have perfect vision of, you know, what it looks. It's like people that paint their gutters a trim color instead of it's a gutter. But, yeah, but we can see, yeah, we can definitely see how that is going to look, and it might be good, who knows.
And they weren't clear on whether the framing in the underside of the roof sheathing would be stained. And my intent would be to clarify that it should be coated with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's likely that it's going to be particle board, not particle board, OSB on the underside of the roof.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely want that covered with something.
yeah, paint. You could even paint it that color if you wanted to.
So, I have
The final finishes could be determined once the thing is up.
Okay.
I mean,
Then
because I wasn't in on the beginning of all of this, but why is it that we're waiting to determine what the dividers are?
I don't know why. I mean, they were taken out between the last meeting and the one before it.
But like, why?
Yeah.
Is my question.
Kent, do you have the answer?
Well, there was talk at the beginning about having them removable, and that wasn't a good answer for DRC, so we just took them out for right now. To me, when I went and looked at it again with Cindy here last week or whatever, we should just make them the same what they are now. But that you could drop in the boards.
Yeah,
You have 2 1x4s, you can drop in the boards and you can take them out.
yeah.
And
In case a vendor wants 2 stalls, is that correct?
right. That was the purpose, was to, if it was 2 stalls, or if you had, and it was also trying to, so you could have it a little bit flexibility for different events during the year. During Christmas market, there's a certain thing that's done, but for the rest of the year, it's not.
Right, you don't need a bunch of stalls.
Yeah, it doesn't work the same way for
Yeah.
anything else during the year. So that was what it was, the conversation about it, but then it became, that's not going to work. The removable walls that were suggested. So that's why it was, okay, let's leave that off. We'll come back to it. We'll get the rest of it to it. And they definitely need to be part of it. And now I have an idea of what to tell DHM what could actually work. So it would be the same way. And then you could also adjust the height of it too. A vendor could have 2 stalls, but then have a shorter wall between them, you know, if they wanted to. So that was part of the discussion regarding it.
So are the dividers supposed to be the entire height of, like, going all the way to the ceiling?
They are currently, but I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I would think it'd be easy to drop something in if it were, you know, 4 feet high or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 or 6 feet, 4 or 5 or 6 feet high. Yeah.
I just had another thought. Right now, the rear wall, the wall that is up against the Diesel Anderson building, is, you know, it's a 100-foot long piece of siding, lap siding. I think we'd be wise to break that siding at every bay and put another, I don't know, another 8x8 post in, or, you know, 6x6 post at each bay, so you have something that delineates.
Attached to. Yeah.
And then you don't need to do the blocking bit, and you can go ahead and run a track in there to put some kind of divider in.
That's a great idea.
The other question I had, and I don't know, I looked at what's there now, and the existing shelters are freestanding. They're not attached to the Diesel Anderson building at all.
Yeah.
The new one will be the same way. Is there any concern with if they have to get in and do maintenance work on that exterior brick wall? They won't be able to because our shelter's in the way?
I thought there was access between the two buildings.
Yeah, like an inch.
No.
There's no way of getting in there.
Whew.
You have to tear the siding off and basically open up the back wall.
Well, if you can't see
Plus
it,
the fact you've got no seal at the roof level,
yeah,
so you're gonna get moisture and, snow and ice, probably not a lot, but come down behind the wall. There's no back on the wall. It's just a 2x4 framing set about an inch off of the existing building.
I think the roof is flashed to the building,
No, it's not.
to the brick.
They didn't want anything attached to the,
There's
Niceland
nothing
Anderson.
attaching it to the diesel. I expected the same thing, and it's not there. It's definitely not called for.
I know the existing is.
I don't think so.
I was up there looking at the roof once, a long time ago, and it was at one time.
I thought it was
I don't
too.
believe it is.
So,
At a ladder, somebody look.
yeah, we can check, we can find that out. So I don't know, is it,
I'll check and see, but I don't believe it is flashed to the existing building.
is it fair enough if, when the old structure is down, this gives them a chance to inspect their wall and see if they want to do anything before the new one goes up? You're just thinking sometime in the future, something might happen.
Oh, I think that it certainly would be something that I know if I owned the building, I'd want to do it when the structure comes down.
Right, okay.
So did I hear right that there's 1 inch between the stalls and Niesel and Anderson?
Between the back of between the back of the new shelter and Eastland and which is about what it is now.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Hmm. Okay.
So that's something that I guess will need to be addressed.
Are they working on that wall right now? They're working on a lot of stuff at Niesel and Anderson.
No, they
No,
couldn't if they
They're done
wanted.
with that building.
Hmm. Okay.
Is there agreement to go ahead and require a rear post in each bay?
Yeah, if we're gonna talk about dividers at some point, makes sense. I guess
Couldn't they just do like a 2x8
Yeah, it could be 2x8 on face.
so it looks like a post?
Yeah.
so then we have something to hook them to. I
Yeah.
guess I was always picturing that we were going to go away from actually having those big wooden slats like they have now to a panel that just attached magically, to like a very lightweight, not even wood, just something that attached when they needed them, and then you take them down because we weren't going to leave them up all the time.
Yeah, that's what you say to the contractor. Just magically make that happen.
They can do that.
The slats would be easier to store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Some of those stalls actually do that, Kent. Did you know that? I've taken slats out of them before.
yeah, a couple are movable.
Yeah, on the short side there, you can take the slats out between a couple of stalls there.
So can we store those slats in the 1 inch that we have between the building?
No, that's what the shed is for.
Everybody has to take some home when the slats are done.
But I mean, the whole divider stuff is something we can do after things are built.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right about it.
Having the exposed 2x8 rough
Yeah.
sawn post on the back of each bay were, in line with the front post. That gives you all kinds of options for hanging stuff and putting in some kind of a system to divide the space between this.
Okay.
between the booths.
Okay, so we decided we're gonna wait on the exposed wood matching the other, or what specific, excuse me, what specific,
Stain color or the,
Yeah, we'll wait on the stain color to be,
Okay.
colors to be decided later. But we'll go ahead and ask for an exposed 2x8 post rough sawn on the, between each 10-foot bay that we could attach the partition wall to.
okay,
The next item I had is all the framing connectors are called out to be the regular, this Simpson connector, so they're all galvanized steel. Many would be visible. I don't know if we'd be happy with galvanized steel connectors showing up inside there, or we'd want to go with something that's powder coated black or something like that. Just a thought. I'm thinking aesthetics more than anything.
well, it would be nice. And, you know, if they don't show, no.
Oh, if they don't show, we don't.
Yeah. So visible ones.
They do make black ones too. There's
Yeah.
a company that makes them.
They're decorative.
Yes. Bob, did you
The
see
way they're
what's
drawn, they look visible.
on the wall, the back of the wall between Nigel and Anderson and the stalls? So I don't see anything noted. What is between the two walls?
It's just on the drawings.
Yeah, I see the 1-inch gap, but I don't know what is on the back side of that wall.
Nothing. From what I gather, there's nothing. And, you know, thinking about it, I don't know how you'd frame it. You'd have to put it up in
Uh-huh.
modules.
Right.
and does that,
I'm assuming it's just it's 2x4. They'll, you know, go ahead and put 2x4 framing up and then just cover the exposed face with the siding, with the cedar lap siding.
Hmm.
And the backside would be open. And I suspect that that's what's there now. It looks like it's a vertical board and a board type thing that's on the existing shelter. And I doubt that there's any back to it for the same reason.
and that would hold up to the elements?
Yeah, reasonably well. I mean,
It's
I
gonna
think
get,
you might want to use pressure treated or treated framing materials.
because it's gonna fill up with snow and then in the winter.
It'll do whatever it's doing. It'll do whatever it's doing now.
Because I've seen snow piled up on that, drifted up in there.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think they might want to think about sealing that 1-inch gap.
Well, I mean, that would become an issue that you'd have to work out with
Yeah, if they don't want anything attached.
Orlu and Wendy. Yeah,
So Bob, if you or any of the contractors, is there some way in which you could actually protect the back of that wall of the stalls? Like use a different material of some kind?
you could build, if you put if you did a post in the back every 10 feet, you could go ahead and build like modular panels that had a front, and you had the cedar on the front and something, you know, some kind of weather protective coating on the back,
Yeah.
and then put them in. The only issue with that is your electrical.
Oh,
You've got wall receptacles, like a 4-pack of
uh-huh.
4 duplex receptacles or 2 duplex receptacles. So you'd have to figure out how you want to do it. You could do it. You could go ahead and just disconnect it if you wanted to remove that section. That'd allow you to maintain, you know, pull the panel out and maintain the wall behind it as well. I mean, that would be a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because once we get this thing all constructed, if there's something that goes wrong there in that back wall, I mean, we have the luxury right now of doing that so that it's protected in the back. But later we'd have to rip out, I can't even imagine how you'd even get to it to,
Well, you'd have to take some siding off and open it up in the front.
so should we be requiring some sort of protection on the back because it's in the elements?
And from a DRC perspective, it wouldn't be our call.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, that's something that probably needs to be talked through.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are ways you could do it. What the way that the building is constructed now, the rear wall is a frame, standard 2x4 frame wall that supports the back end of the, or the top part of the roof. The framing would need to be done differently if you were going to have panels that you took in and out. You'd basically do the framing like you did on the front with post and beam. And
Yeah,
then
I'm not talking about taking the back wall in or out. I'm just talking putting something on the back wall that's, when we do all this construction, that's permanently protective there. Because right
Well,
now,
the only way I could think of doing it so you could weather protect the back wall would be to do it in a modular fashion so that when you get the module all built, you slide it in and secure it. Because if you do the way it's presently designed to be constructed, there's really no way of attaching something to the back of that wall.
okay.
Let's think about this, Bob. Do we know what's on the back of those walls now? I mean, I
think there's a few holes that I can look, I could go look and.
Are they, I mean, how long has that thing
I
been
don't think
there?
there's anything on the back of those walls.
Well, but are they is there a problem with it? Because they've been there a long time. If there's no problem with this one, there's not a good reason to think something will go wrong with the new one.
I agree.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are we
I'm just saying.
suggesting, in other words, are we doing the same kind of wood on the back of the stalls now for the new building that are on there now?
Essentially, yes. It looks like it's some kind of a pine, vertical pine board that's attached to 2x4 framing. So I believe the construction is probably pretty similar to what's being proposed here.
Okay.
So what if they're taking the old one down, if they look at the back and go, oh my gosh, we got to do something, different. If it seems like there's no problem, there's no problem.
It's a matter of risk. That's.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how old is that one there? Do you know offhand?
I have no idea. It was there before I came.
Right.
Probably long before.
Oh yeah,
That's
it
before
goes
I
way back.
came too.
It goes way back for sure.
I think it's something that we just need to discuss
Yeah.
with them.
Well, and maybe they have an answer for that as
Yeah.
far as.
Well, I mean, this is going to go to eventually to the Board of Selectmen to make a decision. I think some of the DRC recommend, we got things that we feel strong about and other things that they need to give some thought to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that needs to be considered for sure. And that between that and also, like I say, when that old one comes down, there might be a surprise on the NICEL building that they want to handle, before we put the new one up, but we don't know. Hopefully not.
I'll capture some of the things we've talked about in the final version of this document, and we can head it up as something that needs to be looked into further.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into.
Is there a gutter that runs around the back of these stalls?
It runs around the front because the roof pitches forward.
Oh, that's right. Okay, got it.
Well, you mean on the ground though?
No, I meant above but I had forgotten that it was slanted from the back to the front.
And there's the runoff from the Niesel Anderson building goes to the parking lot in the back.
Okay. On,
It doesn't, nothing comes off of that
okay,
in our direction.
okay.
Okay.
Did we care about, like, do we want to say that visible framing connectors should be painted or powder coated?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
We can.
Yes.
That looks pretty industrial without being finished.
And the metal, in the gutter and the drain pipe are called out to be brown. And
Yeah.
we'll go with the half round gutter.
Yeah.
Okay. The comments on the structural engineering, mainly the foundations, came from a concern that Cindy sent me and asked me to take a look at the foundation and I guess the soils report. And the foundation looks appropriate. It looks pretty conservative. These really are not for DRC, but for something that possibly could be considered from a town point of view, from a cost standpoint, and also potential impact on the Niesel and Anderson building from compacting the soil.
Yeah.
The floor slab, it's heavily reinforced and it's 10 inches thick with a 42-inch deep perimeter wall, which gets you down below the frost level, which, the frost level is fine, although it's not a heated structure. I don't know that you need to be all that concerned. 10 inches thick, you could probably park your airplane on it. I mean, that's a pretty, and it is a lot of reinforcement in it. It seemed to be a lot.
Oh,
I don't know, Sean does this kind of stuff, and Brent, I know, does this kind of stuff for a living. So that was just a casual observation from my experience, and my experience is pretty limited. We could also look at, instead of using, digging down 4 feet and compacting it and doing that, we could also look at using helical steel piles and create a grade beam, which would be a lot less disturbance of the dirt around that area. So these are just some thoughts that the town may want to consider.
okay.
The same thing with where the seats are, the foundations for the seats and the curved wall around the fire pit and all that. It's like 4 feet deep. That's a lot of concrete.
That
Yeah,
seems excessive.
At the library, when we did the seat walls there, we did piers.
Yeah, I
and
mean, I would
then
think
a 1
piers
foot
and-
grade beam.
Yeah, you could
On
do.
that.
You don't have to go down as deep, or if you do, it's only in limited places.
Right.
Might make some sense.
Yeah.
So Bob, when you're doing this final version of this wonderful document that you've created, is there any value in using a different color for these things we've talked about for the town consideration?
Yeah, I would probably just group them separately
Okay,
as, DRC recommendations or
okay,
suggestions to the town.
okay.
So gets us to page 4.
Let me just ask this one question about that, Bob. If you group those all separately, then they're going to have to make a referral back to like section B or whatever. I'm just wondering if there's a way to include them in the section that they are referring to.
I can do something like that. What I'll do is I'll revise this and send it to everybody. Take a look at, and you can get another shot at it.
Great. I really appreciate it. All right, page 4.
Oh, this again was focusing on the concrete work and the concern with excavation and backfill and compaction and all that kind of stuff. And if we go forward the way it's currently designed and intended to be implemented, they do make a recommendation. You get a geotechnical engineer involved to kind of monitor what's going on. And the big area here is they're suspicious. There are some areas where the backfill is with the existing ground down between like 2 feet and maybe 10 feet or so is could be unstable because of construction debris, that kind of thing.
Oh,
And in which case they're recommending removing that bad, the unstable material and bringing in fill and compacting it and all that stuff. So you don't know until you know. This is it's all based on one probably 4-inch diameter hole. So again, that's from a town perspective. The next, it says reference drawing series S, which are all the structural drawings, really the concrete details. Item 3, the MDC, which I should have changed. It is MDC. I don't know. It's either MDC or MDU. It's their collection of electrical panels and stuff. Right now, it's intended to be a separate freestanding structure installed behind that the section of the big shed that sticks out by the restroom. One thought I had would be incorporate that into the back wall of the shed. It gives you better utilization of space. It would eliminate foundation and more foundation work in that corner. So that was a thought that, and also I'm of the opinion that it needs to be somehow lockable to prevent people from tampering with it from a safety standpoint and just from a tampering standpoint. And it might be a good idea, since where it's located is likely to get a lot of snow and runoff from the building.
yeah.
It probably ought to have some kind of a roof over it.
Okay.
Maybe only sticking out a foot or 18 inches. So that's kind of what that suggestion is about. And do we want to go ahead and just push that point of view as incorporated into the back of the shelter?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, they're going to put siding or something back there anyway, and they could, just build this as a little 2-foot room or something on the end of the shelter, the 2 foot deep.
Yeah,
Give you the ability to put a door on it and
save some space. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
the next item, item 4, the bottom of the posts are called to go into, it looks like it's a custom 8x8 steel base, custom made out of metal. And then it's cladded with cedar, 1-inch cedar. My thoughts were that may be a maintenance issue with it getting all kicked and beaten up, with the cedar getting beaten up. Why not just go with a steel base that's, I would recommend powder coated black.
It's on the floor, right? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's just attached to the concrete, and it supports it holds the post in place.
Yeah,
Idea.
So we're in agreement on that.
yeah.
And item 5 was about the rear partition walls. I'll change that to talk about the 2x8
Yeah, beam.
post. Then they don't need to worry about where the removal, where you need nailers and so forth for blocking. They'll need blocking, but they can put that in. Okay, item 6, again, this is connectors, but these are up top. They're like T connectors where the beams attached to the post. And it looks like they're just in the back. So they're on the back of the beam. I wasn't clear on that. They would be visible from, someone walking into the shelter. They can be, you can get those black powder coated as well. You can put them on the front as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Page 5. Yeah, 7 was just the gray granite stone facing on the seat wall. Do we want to would we consider a cultured stone rather than actual stone?
Which section are we in right now?
We're talking the facing that goes on the seat wall and one of the benches out there.
Oh. Mhm.
They had specified it as red brick, which we didn't think was appropriate. We wanted to go with a stone, so we told them to make it stone, a gray stone. I know you can get the cultured stuff so quite a bit cheaper than the.
Well, it looks like we use that, don't we, Sean, on buildings?
Yeah, we use that all over the place.
Yeah, if it doesn't look like river rock, right?
It can be, they have
Yeah,
a million different.
Like anything.
Pick one.
that's Cindy's Sean. She doesn't like river rock.
It's not,
It's also on the fire pit too, the brick that we are
Yeah,
eliminating.
we didn't want the brick. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
brick in the fire pit also?
Yes,
yeah. I think the cultured stone, with approval would be fine. Makes sense.
yeah. They have thin stone too, like thin brick.
Yeah, you can get a veneer stone.
And it's a real stone,
Yeah.
but it's less expensive and has less the weight.
Then
Maybe we'll just, go with what we've got, and then, they're gonna need to submit a sample of what they plan to use eventually anyway, so we
Right.
can deal with that.
Yeah.
The brick on the fire pit, are you talking the floor of the fire pit?
No, it was on the outside.
On the seating around it? Yeah, that would
Yes.
be, that, I understood that,
the
okay.
actual fire pit is got a little wall around it with an edge. And
Yeah.
it- on that as well. So
But
not see.
I expect it's probably a fire brick on the bottom.
Right.
Oh,
Right. No, it was the
inside.
red brick around the outside.
Okay,
Inside, we don't care if it's brick. That's,
Yeah.
okay, and then the next section is on electrical. We talked about probably don't have enough space where they're presently showing the main distribution center. Talked about putting a roof over it, and that's a yes.
yes,
And some kind of security thing.
yeah.
I saw heads nodding for that. If we do enclose it, it should have some kind of convenience outlet and a light, which I think would be a code thing anyway.
Yeah.
and then, do you have a key? Is that how you get in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about lighting and receptacles. I looked into that in quite a bit of detail. Looks like all the lighting fixtures are fed from a single circuit. So you could go ahead and kill that break and you'd be able to disconnect all the lighting. But you wouldn't be able to shut them on. You wouldn't be able to do it individually, but they have a wireless switch that will allow you, and there's one in every booth, that allows you to turn the lights on and off, adjust the temperature of the light, how
Right.
the shading of it, and then also to dim it. Right now, that one switch, that one 3-button switch operates both the light in the front and the light in the back. If we wanted to, my question would be, do we want to go ahead and ask them for a second 3-button switch and split the lights from the front and the back so they can be done independently? We
if
had talked
you're,
about that. I don't know where we landed.
yeah, and it seems like a good idea, but well, we don't have lights in there now, so that's never an issue, right?
Right.
And so would we really use lights in there? Like, I'm thinking if it's a market or something where they're using the stalls and they need lights on, they'll turn the lights on. If it's an evening where there's some kind of an event, you think, well, maybe it'd just be nice to have the stalls lit, but we don't need two big strips going in there.
Well,
Could-
with the dimmer, I think you could dim it down to like 10% or something, some ridiculous thing like that.
So you wouldn't really need to turn one
You
off.
wouldn't, yeah, you wouldn't need to turn one off. You could leave, you
Yeah.
basically,
So I
the illumination level, I'm thinking one switch ought to be enough.
yeah. And how about the heat? There's heat strips in
The
there, right?
heat, there's a switch, there's a switch for the heat.
Separate from that.
Yeah, it's wired separately. And there are like at least half a dozen circuits for the heat because of the power required.
Yeah, okay.
And the heat, is the heat turned on for the same heat in all the stalls?
Well, you can turn
No.
it off and on in your
You
stall.
can turn it off and on in each stall. And I'll ask the question about, can you replace the light or the lamps, or do you have to replace the fixture? My guess is you're not going to go to your local hardware store or even your electrical store probably and get replacement lamps. It's probably, at best, it's probably a module, or it may be the fixture. But
Well, they last a long time, right?
yeah, they should last.
Well, the other thing is if you can take the bulbs out.
Yeah, I
then-
don't think you're going to be able to take them out. I think
Well,
they're-
people could take the bulbs out too. I mean,
well, yeah,
Good.
they'd have to climb up there to do it.
yeah,
But the fact that the control for the light is built into the light and it's all wireless, I'm sure it's
yeah.
not.
Um,
But we'll ask the question.
Yeah.
And then the wireless 3-button switch is surface mounted. So just a couple of screws, you're done. And it's got a battery inside, obviously.
Oh. And how long does the battery last?
I asked that question.
Mhm.
Depends on how many times you mess with it.
Right.
I don't know if that would be a concern for security or tampering.
So
Whatever.
it's basically like a remote, but it's mounted on the wall.
You could do it the old fashioned way where everything is hardwired and
Yeah.
a lot more wiring. This is nice. It gives you all the controllability and everything. So
But if somebody needed to change the battery, is that a possible, can you do that?
I'm sure it's not gonna, I'm sure that our town people could do that. It wouldn't be hard.
Shouldn't be a problem.
It's like changing the battery on your remote control that you got.
Okay, got it.
Garage door opener, that type of thing.
Probably change the battery.
I think we could probably handle that.
So Bob, on that remote thing, if there's a switch where you turn all the power off, so people can't go in there in the evening and turn lights and stuff on, if the power to the whole
Right.
thing.
I mean, that's why we would have that would be in the master control panel.
Okay, Yeah.
And that would be under lock and key. So if we don't want people messing with the lights, just turn the breaker off. Same thing, I would think, other than for Christmas market, or if we have something there, we turn all the heating power off as well.
yeah. I guess eventually, if there was an issue with people messing with those or whatever, you could get one of those little locking things like they put on thermostats places so people can adjust the heat in that work.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can fix that by just turning the breaker off and then.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah, if somebody can turn the heat on, then maybe somebody will be living in one of those stalls. you know.
Well, you know how people are.
I don't think Randy would allow it. Site
Yeah.
lighting, we talked about changing the height to 12 feet on the lighting
Yes.
poles. And then
In
Oh, yeah. Oh, and
these are the light fixtures in the parking lot and in the park itself.
Yes.
And then changing them all to be the same type,
the,
the BB style, which is the Bella Vista fixtures. We had talked about putting a light in one in the front of the parking lot, one in the back. In looking just at the wattage, I think the one ugly fixture that they had was like 400 watts, and these are like 40 or 50. So I don't think 2 lights is going to do well. We may be looking at least 3 lights in the parking lot to give some reasonable amount of illumination.
So
But I just-
right now, what's lighting that parking lot? Nothing?
I don't think anything is it? There might be a street light there. Is there a street light?
Oh, that's what I'm wondering. Is there a street light?
Ken's talking, but he's muted.
Trying to be quiet. Yes, it's just, I think there's one.
Street
Off-
light?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should
And then
one-
there's the light off the purple building, off the back of that building as well.
And do they control when that's on and off, or is that? oh,
Yeah, that's not the town. No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so adequate 12-foot lighting out there, whatever it takes.
We just don't want too much light in that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Okay.
And the fixtures in the park have, things that come out. You can hang, it says plant racks or something, but you can hang stuff on, which are probably appropriate for the park. You can hang banners or whatever you want there. But the ones in the parking lot, would we shave the cost by just getting rid of those? We just need a straight light, right?
Yeah, I think so.
lot?
Yeah.
I don't know, though. It depends on the cost. If it's not that expensive, you really would like to have that option. If you,
Of hanging flower pots in the in the parking lot.
or the little flags, like coming in.
Banners, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more like banners.
Yeah, that's cool. I would, I don't know, we would have to, I mean, if it's an extra $80 to have the bars or something, it'd be great to have the option, because you could or could not put the little banners on there. Makes,
Yep. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what they would cost.
Yeah, yeah, if it's considerable, it might be worth not having them, but Kent will give us whatever we need.
awesome. Thanks, Ken.
It's no problem.
Actually, we've added adding the banner arms is not that hard to the posts after.
Oh, okay.
So, because we've had to do it, so.
I mean, if you're gonna order 4 of those lights, which is what we're talking about now, right?
In the parking lot?
Well, there's 2 in the main part of the stalls, right?
Yeah, and then 2 or 3 more for the parking lot.
So anyway,
I would think you wouldn't need all of them with the banner bars, maybe 1 or 2.
That's true. Maybe the one closest to the street.
Yeah.
We can assess that. I guess knowing what the cost margin is there might be the issue to decide.
Okay, that's something that the town can decide on. And it looks like the lights would be, the site lighting would be set to on at dusk and off at dawn. Would we want to have them more programmable so that they could be shut off prior to dawn?
I think that might be a good idea,
Mhm.
so
unless it's a security issue.
The streetlights are dusk to dawn, right?
Clock when everybody goes to bed.
go shut those off. Bob, are you gonna do that?
Whoever's the last one going to bed, turn the lights off.
Yeah,
You can put it on a timer.
Right.
well, that's mainly what I was, that we should just add a requirement that it be possible to, program the time feature.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last plumbing, I had no comments. That was just basically the gas piping going to the old Georgetown lantern hanging on the wind wall.
What page are we on right now?
6.
6,
6. Okay.
almost done.
I know, not far behind.
And then the civil engineering was really more the drainage type stuff. The only real question I had, it calls a concrete washout area, which I'm assuming is, it's under erosion control, so it's probably all just during construction. And my question to Kent would be, is that intended, I'm assuming it's intended to be temporary because it doesn't show up in any of the,
Yeah.
construction plans. Would it make more sense to locate it somewhere else, like down near the lake? I mean, I'm assuming they're talking about washing out concrete trucks.
Yeah, I think that's just working with the contractor about where it's specifically located. I would be surprised that it was, why is it specified here? That to me is just.
Yeah, I mean,
during
it shows up
construction.
on the plan as being in the corner of the parking lot,
Right.
along with the traction control. That's what you may or may not need, I don't know.
I think
But
it's
that was just a thought for, and again, that would be a town consideration.
right.
Well, that's pretty much all I could glean out of everything. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts, things that we may have missed, or.
No, I'm
So much for all
pleased
that.
with this.
I'll go ahead and clean this up and do something to clearly identify DRC comments.
Yeah.
And our observations for consideration by the town.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you.
And I should get that out to you. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. It depends when my son comes back. My son from Alaska and my daughter-in-law are down visiting, so that was a big surprise. They just arrived a few days ago. They're out kayaking in the western part of the state right now, but
Well, can you knock yourself out and give yourself like 2 days or something, Bob?
well, you'll have it by the weekend for sure.
Yeah, take a day off, Bob.
Yeah, really.
Well, they're not here right now, so that's good.
Okay.
Oh,
Thanks so much again.
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so we have approval of the minutes from May the 13th.
Yep. Somebody's supposed to make a motion on that or no?
We're all, if you've read it and you see any changes that need to be made, please let us know. Otherwise, we will take a motion on that. And I will say on the Wassman application, Cindy had contacted me earlier and she specified the mullions and something else. I can't even think what it is now. See, it gets late in my mind. But we did put that on the COA. So it's all included on the stipulations, the things that we agreed.
Yeah, I think they sent in a revised, can't find it, but
Yeah, I saw that too. They sent the picture of the windows on that.
Yeah.
I want to say northeast wall. I never knew what wall we were talking about. So that's the stipulations that we had were all on the COA as well. And the picture was, everybody saw that. The picture was what we asked for.
Yep.
And Lisa, I did reach out and leave her a message and told her that Betsy and I would be happy to come over and kind of look. And we did discuss what would be acceptable. And she never got back to me. So
Right.
we might, Susan, make a note in the minutes that the applicant did not, respond to us, our willingness to come over or whatever.
yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have to say anything else besides that?
Nope.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
We
great.
had one other thing that was added, and Cindy and I had talked about this as well. And
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to bring it up for thoughts. Is now the time to make changes to the DRC process for review of construction documents like we basically just did for Strauss Park, and maybe follow up to the certificate of occupancy certificate on major projects? Because I suspect before too long, we may be seeing something from down at Bighorn for the townhomes. I mean, last we heard, they were going to build them and they were going to be stick built, and they won't, I'm sure we want to see the plans for all that stuff. And after the issues we had with the apartments, I think we'd want to see the construction drawings to make sure that what our requirements are incorporated.
Are they
That's a good
changed
idea
from
on
the original ones?
major projects.
Do you know if they're changed from the original ones? I know stick built's different than what they did, but do they look the same?
I have no idea. We haven't seen anything. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we should see them.
They're planning to have it
My
look the
suggestion
same.
was to see the
Right.
permit drawings whenever they submit for permit.
I'm sorry. Okay. And Kent, what did you say?
I was just saying they were planning on the outside to be the same, but it would be good to have their construction plans just to confirm that it is the same.
Yeah, I think so too. Because even with the apartments, you know how things changed after the new guy came.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Anybody else got anything?
And Cindy sent something on that she didn't think we needed to do any any code change or anything like that. We could just do it as a procedure thing. I don't know, do we need to run the thought by Gerald or?
The one thing that was mentioned was to have the COA, just kind of like you did here, you had a temporary COA, but that you require with the condition that once the construction plans are completed, that they are brought back to you.
Yeah, that's,
Mhm.
And I think that way would not require a code change, but I can check with Jerry to make sure.
Yeah, I thought Cindy ran through kind of would be in her email. I thought it was good. And if we don't have to codify it, that'd be great. Then we have the discretion of
Yeah.
looking a little deeper on some projects than others.
Well, yeah, because things do tend to get switched a little bit. Good idea. Betsy, I am going to reach out to Lisa once more, just to make sure she didn't lose a message or something, but
absolutely.
we'll go from there. Okay. Well, if nobody else has anything, let's adjourn.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Hey, Sean.
Yes.
Give me a call, please.
Okay, I will.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Tonight or tomorrow?
If you well, tonight if you can, but whenever it's good for you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.